Hello, thank everyone for being here today. I'm doing my speech today on Martin Luther King Jr. And I'm talking about the life and legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. And I want to mention his early life, his rise to prominence, and also the late life and the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia, which I'm proud to say that as I'm in Atlanta also. And Martin Luther King Jr. graduated at the age of 15 from Booker T. Washington High School in 1944. And also he received his Bachelor's of Divinity from Crozer Theological Seminary in 1951 and his Doctorate of Philosophy from Boston University in 1955. So those are some of his educational accomplishments. Martin Luther King Jr. married Coretta Scott King in June of 1953, and she's very well known also as a civil rights activist, and her career and legacy are also well documented. Martin Luther King Jr. became the head pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama in 1954 at the age of 25. Well, he became pretty well known as a pastor, and also he was asked to be the main speaker for the Montgomery bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955. This boycott lasted for 385 days and resulted in the U.S. Supreme Court ruling on December 21st, 1956, that segregation on buses was unconstitutional. So his legacy and his impact became apparent even in the mid-1950s. In 1957, Martin Luther King was elected as the first president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which emphasized civil rights for all people by using nonviolent means. Martin Luther King followed a lot of the principles of Jesus Christ and also of Gandhi by using peaceful methods to protest social injustices for African Americans and for all people. According to Amy D. Stevens in a 2008 article in the magazine Legacy, in her article entitled The Voice of the King, she wrote of Martin Luther King Jr., his success at moving a nation has been attributed to the skills he learned as a gospel preacher. So Martin Luther King Jr.'s skills as a Baptist preacher and as a gospel preacher helped influence him and mold him in many ways to be the man that he was. Dr. King led many nonviolent protests and marches throughout the South and was arrested and attacked on many occasions, yet he continued to persevere because his dream and vision of a better America was stronger than people oppressing him. He still wanted to help mankind, so it didn't matter just that he was suffering, but he wanted to help all people. On August 28, 1963, Dr. King addressed a crowd of over 250,000 people, the picture seen here on the Washington Mall in Washington, D.C. And this speech helped influence and inspire many Americans to turn away from the social injustices and the oppression that were occurring by African Americans, and Americans began to see each other equally. And this speech in August of 1963 helped change America in many ways. Also in 1963, Martin Luther King was awarded Time's Man of the Year, Time Magazine's Man of the Year, and in 1964 he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Frederick W. Havemann described in his 1972 article, Nobel Lectures, this event as following. At the age of 35, Martin Luther King Jr. was the youngest man to have received the Nobel Peace Prize. When notified of his selection, he announced that he would turn over the prize money of $54,123 to the furtherance of the civil rights movement. Martin Luther King's influence continued to spread, and he began campaigning in the North in the mid-1960s, primarily in Chicago. Also, in 1968, Martin Luther King organized the Poor People's Campaign to address the needs of those who are less fortunate in economic situations. On March 29, 1968, Martin Luther King was assassinated by James Earl Ray at a motel in Memphis, Tennessee. But as demonstrated in our society today, Martin Luther King's legacy continues to be spread around, and also it's been seen over the past 4 decades a decrease in racism and more opportunity for people of all creeds and all races. Martin Luther King was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1977 and the U.S. Congressional Gold Medal in 2004. Also, his birthday is recognized as a national holiday, and in 2009, construction began on the Washington Mall for the Martin Luther King Jr. National Monument. So in conclusion, I'd like to say the legacy and the influence of Martin Luther King can still be seen in our society today, and his impact lives on, and his influence was primarily through the teachings of Jesus Christ, and it's helped to mold the nation in a positive and constructive way.